Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. It's really a good pleasure to stay here, cross space, at the same time to turn inward, to understand this marvelous thing, which is called life. To live a life peacefully, joyfully, can be a challenge for many people, right? Because such a life must be very simple. But when the mind is really complicated, it can no longer touch this simplicity of life. How can we get out of this complex of life to return to the simple state of life? It's an art, isn't it? To live a life simply is an art. There can be many different arts in museums, all kinds of things which is called art, all kinds of concept. But probably there's only one art, which is really beyond any definition. That is to live life meaningfully, peacefully, and joyfully. And this is the essence of meditation, isn't it? Not to learn some new thought systems, not to learn some new belief systems, but simply empty the mind, to look at the mind, to look at everything around us without any judgment, condemnation, interpretation. Just look at it. Such an easy action is becoming so difficult. Why? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. Why we can't do this simple action anymore? So today, let's explore faith or belief or values or whatever it's called. Let's examine this carefully. Now, why this examination? Let's understand the mind a little more. So before we really go into it, let's keep silent for 3 minutes. Simply empty your mind. Come back to this moment. Today, let's look at faith or belief together. It's an old topic, but it's also a new topic, isn't it? People are talking about that in different ways across the whole history of life. All kinds of faith in different cultures. Or belief systems. Before we really go into this, let's look at the definition of this verse a little bit. Human beings are very good at polluting things. Not only polluting the raw water, polluting the air, but also polluting the consciousness in different ways. Isn't it amazing? So we are also polluting every word we are using. So that's why it's very important to examine this verse, the definition or the general tendency of using this verse to invite the awareness back. Anyway, the verse are not the thing, are they? So to understand or to really delve into this stuff, we have to go beyond the verse. We shouldn't get caught up in the verse, else we can't go any further. When people get stuck, when people are caught up in the verse, there's only argument. All kinds of quarrels, all kinds of chatterings people are doing in politics, in all kinds of things. It's incessant. It's annoying, isn't it? But for us to explore this, we have to go beyond this verse, which means that, well, at the same time, we look at the mind, look at our reaction to this verse, and then listen to what we are talking about to avoid being carried away by the verse, the reaction to it. When we talk about faith, most people might relate it to some kind of religious faith. But here, we just use faith as a general thought systems. And to make things simple, and we just the equal faith with belief. It's because language is great, but sometimes we have created too many words to divide this and that. That only complicates the conversation and probably leads all kinds of misleading stuff. So here, let's just use the belief or faith this verse alternatively. So no matter we call it belief or faith, it's a system of thought, isn't it? It's a system of thoughts and the reactions to the thoughts, which creates a very specific reality. So when people are holding to that belief, the mind tends to be in the specific reality, triggered by the thoughts belonging to that system. When we have the reaction to thoughts, we have perception. So when we are surrounded by thoughts and the reactions towards those thoughts, we have a very different perception. And the combination of all this perception leads to a reality. So, across the past 2,000 years, faith, especially the religious faith, has played such an important role. Not only politically, but also mentally, right? The mind is so chaotic, so petty, so neurotic. The faith can be used, if it really works, to control the mind. So through the faith system or the religion stuff, a lot of power structure is constructed based on this. It's convenient, isn't it? Because the faith can control the mind, to keep the mind on the lash. At the same time, this control can easily lead to the power structure. But this kind of religion, no matter in which culture or in which place, does not really bring the true peace. The incessant war, all kinds of conflict between peoples, between different tribes, never stop in the past 2,000 years. Still, the human are always topping the species who can really kill each other. That's really a wonderful sight, isn't it? So in the past 100 years, the human history has gone through a very dramatic change, right? The more and more people have dropped the religion, especially in the Western world. And more relied on science. Which is unfortunately becoming another kind of faith or system. So the problem is that, why do we have this kind of faith in one way or another, in one form or in or another? Why don't this belief system really work? Work means that the society is peaceful, harmonious, really calm, really joyful. Even people who are believing in science so strongly, of course here we don't deny science. But we need to look at the relation between us and the science, because blindly believing it borders on the faith, isn't it? More and more people are living in a mania of evidence. We want to find the evidence. It is becoming another neurotism, is it? Neuroticism, right? We are always holding beliefs for a sense of security, stability, not to be disturbed. But the problem, as we have noticed, it doesn't work as intended. The life can be still easily to be disturbed. All kinds of mental challenges can still appear in all kinds of ways. In the old faith, in the old religion, we have justified a lot of problems as a sin. No matter how we try to fix the system, the belief system, it always fails to change people, change the nature of human beings. To look at this tremendous issue on this planet, we are all living in thoughts, and we hope to try to have some kind of system of thoughts to give us a specific reality where we have no trouble at all. In old system, there are so many different kind of goals. And more people begin to realize, yeah, it's kind of a illusion because it's so obvious. Everybody has a goal in the mind, which is a mere self-projection. We have the word God, but different people have different mental images about that. And for this reason, more and more people has gone to more subtle belief system, like science, to some extent. Science has delivered a lot of conclusions, which can be very problematic, because these conclusions is also from a system of thoughts. For many things, like it can be evidence-based, but for those things it can't. When I'm anxious, I need to find evidence to support that I'm anxious. When I'm unhappy, I need to find evidence to show that I'm unhappy. So when a society is obsessed with the evidence, which is inevitably another distortion on the mind. When we really seeking evidence, We can't say what is happening now at this moment. Because the very seeking evidence covers the eyes. For this part, for the evidence, it's also a very big topic. We can talk about it in the future. But now, let's just leave it there and continue the topic of the faiths and belief systems. A system of thoughts, which is called belief or faith, is much more subtle than we think. Even we let go of this obvious faith, as we also mentioned in life. For most people, they are still caught up in all kinds of subtle beliefs, conclusions, assumptions. One of them, probably not one of, the greatest belief on this planet is the existence of the ego, the existence of the self. And many evidences which people are seeking, no matter in the name of science or whatever, it's based on this kind of very subtle beliefs. To really examine this kind of belief is very unsettling, isn't it? But such a belief that the ego, the self, exists is so deep-seated in the culture, on the mind, is the root of all kinds of issues. So most time people are dealing with this superficial belief system, like the religion, science, whatever. But how many people are really placing the focus on these fundamental ones? Without examining these fundamental beliefs, any superficial change won't change the human nature, won't change or improve the situation. It's only like a scratch on the surface, but deep down, the problem is there. It's kind of illusion that we always find, oh, this solution is new. Oh, we can try this. But deep down, the self, the ego is still that one. It's got unchanged. So the issue stays. So in the past maybe 15 minutes, we have talked a lot on this superficial belief system, but now we finally come to this deep level. That's the all kinds of low-level belief systems, which we never examine for most people. They just take it for granted. They are trained from youth, by parents, by the school, by the society, generation by generation, to live in that illusion. When life is undisturbed, nobody notices this. But when life is becoming turbulent, still, most people don't notice this. All the mental challenges can only come from the self, the ego. Without solving this, there's no possibility to radically change the society for the genuinely better. So now, probably we need to ask ourselves such a question carefully, cautiously. Can we live a life without any belief systems? Can we live a life free from the self, the ego, and the mischief made by the self and the ego? Or, in other words, can we live a life purely in truth? Truth is not static, it's always dynamic. Can we follow life, follow the flow of the life, to be away from all kinds of illusions? And to answer this question, not verbally, it's meaningless to verbally answer this question, because then the discussion fall into the thoughts and whatever. To answer this question truly, by your heart, to use your life to answer this question, to live through it. That's the way to meditate. No matter which method you are using or following, it doesn't matter at all. But that's the way to meditate. And that's the essence of meditation. A life free from all kinds of beliefs. If you feel it, you don't need to believe it. Because when you feel it, when the mind is very quiet, when you feel it, it is, isn't it? It is as it is. But when the belief kicks in, the thought pop up, the reaction towards thoughts also follows. You can perceive the truth, you can perceive the reality, perceive things as it is, but it has nothing to do with beliefs. Beliefs borders on a conclusion, assumption, opinion, a view. To go beyond words, it's good to go beyond any belief systems. Without words, where are the beliefs? So now, let's come back to this moment to meditate, to simply empty the consciousness. To let the mind be quiet, to touch upon this beautiful and simple truth. Now, let's take a 10-minute meditation. Start by taking a moment to find a comfortable position to sit in a posture that you feel relaxed and get alert. Let hands rest on your knees or laps. Let the eyes close gently. Soften your forehead. Act a soft smile in the corner of your lips. Breathe naturally. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. Feel the sensation of breathing in. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Feel the sensation of breathing out. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. Fix your attention on the breath. Let go of any thought, words, images. This moment, nothing is more important than breath. while you are listening to the bell, check where your attention is. If it wasn't on the breath, after the bell, gently invite your attention back to the breath and sustain your attention on the breath. Slowly bring your awareness back to this room. Feel into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes. Does everybody have good time in the past 10 minutes? How's everybody doing?
Fine. Yeah, it was relaxing. Last 10 minutes meditation.
Anna,
It was.
how about you?
Your talk was very rich. Again, my mind
Thanks.
was difficult to. Was struggling a bit to calm down, let's say, but it was nice. It was a very nice experience.
Great. So I think for all of us, meditation is part of life. Or meditation is life. Not necessarily sitting here for 10 minutes to meditate, but how to live a life carefully, artistically. This whole journey is already the life itself, which we also give a name called meditation. Unfortunately, this word has been, abused by so many people in different ways. So every time we talk about meditation, we always come back to the definition first. People have so many different kind of illusions, mental images about meditation. By itself, it only distorts the practice of meditation. A few days ago, so some people asked, so does the practice of meditation lead me astray? And I replied, when you ask yourself such a question, that does the meditation lead me astray? This question itself will lead you astray.
Sorry, Siko, you said astray, so it means
Astray.
astray.
Astray or astray?
Astray. You mean that you are lost, kind of.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, I understand. Yes. Thank you.
Sorry for the pronunciation problem.
No. I was not sure if I understood correctly.
So simply asking this question, can this practice lead me astray? can really lead one astray. Because when people ask this question, they haven't figured out what is meditation. And then they just ask, does this meditation leads to me astray? Which means that he assumes that he knows what is a meditation. And in that very assumption, it is already led him astray. We see how tricky the mind is, isn't it? To meditate, we have to be very cautious because sometimes we ask some questions can be very dangerous. Some sort of a theoretical questions, which has nothing to do with the real life. But if we look around, we find that almost everybody is so obsessed with all kinds of theoretical questions. They can't really differentiate what is the real question, what is the theoretical question. If we ask a question which is theoretical and we are not aware of, that very question itself will lead us astray, will mislead us further. So to meditate, we must ask ourselves questions, but the question must be very practical, must true to life.
So,
And of course, Anna, yeah.
I struggle with, I work like I need to use my analytical mind. So I tend to overanalyze everything. And this is a problem now to live my life because, as you said, I need to perceive it, or I try to feel it, or to come in from another angle. But then my monkey mind needs a logical explanation to things and start like overanalyzing. So it's difficult to reach a balance. How to reach a balance? That's my question.
So first, we don't need to doubt whether it's possible or not. It must be very possible. It is 100% possible. But how? It really depends on everyone's mental state. So can the thought itself realize the issue, the limitation of the thoughts? Can I observe the tendency to analyze before the analysis pop up? This action might take place very, very quickly, but can you capture that? Can you do this while meditating to slow down this process, to be able to capture that? Why should I analyze it? Why should I be curious about that? When I see it, it is there. Why should I ask myself, why it's there? So such a question, which is very practical, right? Because it's not a theoretical question. It's nothing to do with theory. But to ask ourselves, why should we be so curious about this stuff? It's there. It's there. When I say it, when I perceive it, it's there. When my mind is very quiet, I perceive it. In that silence, the truth is there. But why should I be curious about that? Why should I ask myself why it's there? Then we fall into the theory side. The theoretical side only, leads all kinds of molecules. The overanalysis, as Anna said. So with this awareness, we keep asking ourselves, why should I be curious about this? When you have a tendency there, that's very answering this question, not by verse, but just to explore it by yourself. It's the way to invite the awareness back. So next time when I have the tendency to analyze, I'm aware of that. Okay, my mind will begin to analyze. Why should I be curious about that? Let go of the self. Because the very analytical process is due to the center, which triggers or initiate this process, which is the self. So of course now the verbal communication is very limited. It is up to everybody to feel it, to notice it in your life. That's very important. Try to be aware of your reactions to verse. Because in many situations, the reaction to verse triggers the process of the analysis, isn't it? Which means that one is easily get caught up in verse. The verse are not a thing. So why we are curious about verse, which are not a thing at all? So as I noticed, the verse itself is something we need to overcome. To really deeply feel how we are attached to verse. How we are using verse in such a fixed way. Which is, of course, in opposition to the life, which is always in flux. So get over this issue. Requires us to have a deeper understanding. The verse, the language system. To look at how the self is concocted by those verse and the images and thoughts. To look at how souls are carried out by verse. When we go into the analytical process, you might notice that you can't do that without verse. The language. So to solve the issue between the language and us, which also means that we need to go into this process of understanding everything. I mean, about the mind, the language, the limitation of the misbelief about the language. And you will see what will happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zico. Sometimes it occurs to me that how you say, that I know when something pops up in my mind, when I'm calm, that I think just stay calm, don't step into that kind of thought pattern again. And I decide not to do that, and then I stay calm. So that's kind of an example, I think, what you mentioned.
Yes, that's a good way. But when we realize that when we have the tendency to be into the thoughts, just stay away from that for a while. And then the mind will change by itself. And as Bob said, this is also part of the awareness. Like Bob is aware of the thoughts popping up before Bob interact with the thoughts. So For other part, it's similar to this awareness. To be aware of the reaction to the language. To notice our mental action or the tendency to begin to analyze. This might, come across a little challenge at the beginning, because the mind is so stubborn, as it seems to be at first. But just try this. Try to be aware. The mind will change, because the very awareness of that changes our perception.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think if you calm down, it helps to bring the chaos and your busy mind. It calms down, and you see those kind of chaotic things happening because you're calm and because you have a kind of peace of mind.
And the perception around this peaceful mind is totally different from the mind who is in chaos. So that perception will bring the further clarity. But don't seek it. Just do it. It will happen naturally. Don't seek, I want to seek that kind of stuff. No. The very seeking destroys everything. Because the seeking is also from the intention, from the desire, also from the center, which is the self.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't seek it, but do it. Things will come naturally.
Thank you, Zico.
Thank you, everybody, being here tonight. So let's finish this session first.
Yes.
Shall we? Perfect. So great to be here tonight with you guys, to explore the mind, to understand life a little more. If you are really into it, this understanding is very joyful. Isn't it? So no matter how busy you are, can you enjoy this moment? Not being carried away by thoughts, illusions, anything you think important. Actually, nothing really important, right? This moment matters, and only this moment matters. Because you only exist at this moment.
Yes.
If you think about yourself in the future or in the past, that's an illusion. It's gone. It's not there. When you think about future, you still project your past in a modified form. It's still in the past. It's still an illusion. It's still gone. So can we, of us, be this moment? Very simple, isn't it? As long as you are not complicated. And great. Stay care, stay safe, stay at peace, and stay joyful. See you guys in the future sessions.
Thank you, Zico. Zico, Anna, and all the participants. Have a good week. A quiet and peaceful mind. Thank you.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.